Alright, so welcome back, guys. Today we're building a Magnemite. Let's get straight into it. So if you look at the general shape of Magnemite, he's a sphere. So let's go ahead and what we do to begin, we just create a sphere. Choose any plane you like. Just some overview. Here you have the sketches, the origin plane, so you can go ahead and click on these arrows and it will make a drop-down menu of each item within the arrow. And you can click this eye icon to toggle and turn off and on those features. Here at the bottom you have this family tree where you can see your edits and edit them in the sequence if you like to. So more or less Magnemite, I would say, let's build it so you can fit the hand. So let's say 80 millimeters is nice. In this case, we did a cylinder. Go back and do a sphere. Yeah, 80. Awesome. So now we got that out of the way. We got origins and planes. So here's one thing you can do. You see our main coordinates. And when you look at Magnemite, he just has two magnets, an eye, and then some bolts and some more screws. So let's take care of the eye right now. And basically for the eye, what we're going to do is we're going to create an advanced feature called surface layers and offsetting. So to do that, let me introduce you to this icon called move. So we'll be moving this object, and what we'll be doing when we move this object is we'll be creating a copy of it, this object as well. And when we move this object and we create a copy, we'll leave this original profile for the eye, and then we'll intersect that profile with this body. So let me show you. Now we make a drawing, a sketch. Here's our plane. That is our plane. And let's draw the eyes. A circle. A small circle. And so that would pretty much be it for our eye. We finish the sketch. Look what we're going to do. We're going to extrude. We're going to extrude when we choose our sketch, in this case, sketch 2. And when you do this intersect, it only creates the body created by this intersect of these two bodies, of the profile and the original body. Let's go back and do an intersect again. So we're going to move and copy this body of the sphere. Do an intersect for this center eyepiece. Extrude. And intersect. And now we have the eyepiece for Magnemite. That's pretty good. So what's next? Next, we can start making the magnets. And to make the magnets, we go to construct, plane at an angle, and what we'll be doing is, you look at Magnemite, he has magnets on the sides. So in this case, we'll be building the two magnets, but at an angle to this center axis. So look at it from the top. And let's say it has a 20-degree angle on both sides. Fair enough. So we look at our resulting plane, it's this one. Right here. Right there. So that's not exactly the angle we wanted. That's where let's edit the feature. So we get 80-degree, 75-degree angle. 70 on this side, and let's do it again. Plane and angle. We choose our line. There we go. So we have two intersecting planes. And you see under here, under construction, those two planes we just made. Let's bring back our bodies. And now we can start extruding and creating the profile for the magnets. So now let's create a sketch and which profile you'd like to create it on. Well, on the plane that we just created. Make our plane visible. And for the magnet, you look at the size of Magnemite, more or less. The magnets are around the same size of the actual body. So we have, let's say we have 75 of the magnets. And we create the thickness of this magnet to be 15. There you go, 25 thickness magnets. So what I did there is I introduced a line with constraints. And to switch between these two features, because you have it up for a line and angle, and in this case, a magnitude. So we have 65, and to switch between the other feature, I click Tab, and I click 90. Click Offset. And that should be it. If you want to, you can offset this circle and along with this rectangle to create an even thicker offset, or you can change the dimensions of the inner to the outer circle. Let's do 45. And that will automatically update the thickness of these lines as well. So that's our sketch so far. You can see now the profile of the body, the main body, and our magnets. So what's left to do? Let's extrude this. Make that a new body. And so you see how the main body and now the magnets looks really nice. So what's left? Let's do another extrude, but this time we'll do it for the magnet tips. And for this operation, we'll create a new body instead of join. As you can see, this magnet might be a bit too long, so if you want to, you can adjust the size or the length of the magnet, but looks good. So what you want to do next is you want to create a mirror for this magnet. And so you notice earlier I drew two planes, and if you want to, you can go ahead and do the same feature by sketching this sketch profile onto this other plane and repeating the same feature on the other side. Or a second way to do it is you can select this body, all these three bodies, select the mirror plane you would like to reflect it on. In this case, we would like to reflect it on this mid plane right here. And you can see our new resulting body on the opposite side. Looks pretty good. So what next? Magnemite has some screws. There's a screw on top of his head and some screw on the sides. And to show you how to model the screw in one session would be a bit tedious, but thankfully there's a shortcut for that. And Fusion 360 allows you to import bodies externally, either as a step file or certain types of files that are neutral formatted. So what does that mean? In layman's terms, you just go here to insert derive, save our design, and then you are able to select basically some features that you want to import. In this case, we want to import this SS metric screw. It's going to be an external body that we imported from McMasterCar. Here's a screw that we are looking for. It asks you to select if this is the object you want to import, and it's going to import it to the original, to the new body. In this case, we take away everything here. You can see our screw right there. So that's why we import a new body that's as a step file in this case onto Fusion 360, and you can repeat this for other compatible formatted files. Just look at our screw, and now let's move the screw. Move and copy. And better yet, let me show you something interesting. So you see the screw, and compared to the size of Magnemite, looks pretty small because the screw is meant to be, I believe, 6 millimeters long. Let's inspect. We're going to inspect the distance from this plane to this plane. It's 11 millimeters long, more or less. And yeah, I did this using a measure tool under inspect. So I want to make this bigger. And how do we make this bigger? You go to modify and you click scale. You want to be able to scale your object to different size while maintaining all the different proportions the same. Scale type, uniform. 10 times the size of the original screw. And now we can compare to the body of the Magnemite. Starts looking proportionally different. 5 size. Let's try 5. So we have size 5, so it'll be 5 times the original size. And now let's go ahead and click and move this screw body. Put on top of Magnemite. I think there's one on top of his head. Yep, looks about right. And we click. Once you're satisfied with the position, click OK. So now you can actually repeat this process. You import a second derive. In this case, it will be the same screw. We go back to our body. Here's our screw. And we're going to rescale it to see what else we could put it as. 2 times the size. How does that look? Looks nice. Let's go ahead and move the screw now. And there it is. Let's rotate a little bit. And so for the positioning, you just kind of eyeball it, more or less. I have a model of Magnemite next to me, an image, so I'm following after that. Once you're satisfied with the position, click OK, and there's your screw. So what's next? We want to model this screw on the other side. Let's go ahead and do that. Mirror body. Against what plane? We have these cardinal planes, these primary planes, and we click new body, and we're done. There's our new body of the screw. So we have Magnemite, essentially. If you want to, like I mentioned earlier, you can edit these features of the magnets, make them shorter, make them longer to your preference. But let's go ahead and make this presentable. We want to be able to make this look good. So we're going to apply some material and color properties. So under material and color properties, you have the physical material and its properties as well, and the color. So we're going to apply paint. In this case, the default is steel statin. Glossy finish paint. And for the glossy finish of the paint, we're going to put it on this eye. So here's what happens when you try to do that directly. It's going to get onto the eye, but let's say I want to paint the rest of the body normal as it is, gray, or for in this case yellow. You see how when you on the eye there's an overlapping feature of white and yellow. That occurs because there's no thickness to the eye. So the way it's laid out right now, when you put the color, it's going to put it onto the body that you put for the eye, as well as to the main body, which is the sphere. So what you want to do in order to separate those two bodies is you want to create some thickness. And to do that, we'll be doing something called a surface offset. So I go here to this body that we intersected, and I go to surface, and I put offset. And what that does is going to basically create a new body based off the sketch of this surface body of this solid body we made. Here we did the surface offset. If we click it, you can see the surface offset body. And that's just on the plane, on the surface of that plane. We repeat that for the center eye. And now we'll be doing something called thicken. We click thicken and we click our surface offset. And now we apply some thickness, 0.5 millimeters. That's good. And then we repeat the same for center piece. Six. And you can see the thickness we applied right there. So if you want to, you can change the thickness to something smaller. That's up to you and your preference. Go here and edit the feature. You can do 0.4. But once you're satisfied with the thicken you prefer, basically now you can apply material and color properties. So we go back and we click our paint, and we have our glossy white, and let's apply some black as well for the eye. Let me refer to the image I have, the Magnemite. We have blue over here, and blue over here as well, and red, and red. So let's say you want to make a different shade of red. You want to be able to make these highlights better. You go up here to your glossy enamel red, and you just click and drag different shade of red you like. So let's say you want something more bright, not too dark. Go over here, just click and drag, and choose your exact shade of red you prefer. Same thing with the blue. Let's say you want a brighter blue. Let's say that's better for you. Awesome, you just go ahead and do that. So we look at the magnets, and right now for the magnets we could leave them as steel statin, that's fine. But for the main body, it's a lighter color of the steel. So let's go ahead and try to find a lighter color. Or we can even go to steel statin and change the tint for it. But you can see it also changes the tint for the magnets as well. So we can escape that. Or what you could do is undo that design. You undo it, and you can make a duplicate of the original material. So if you have steel statin as original material, here's what you can do. Go here, right click, and you duplicate the material. And so now you can actually have different colors for the original material. Click edit. Now you can click and drag a brighter color for the main body. Click done. And that's the modification. And for the magnets, you put the original steel statin onto it. And you can see the difference in colors for our new material, which is this brighter steel statin, and the original, which is the default steel statin. And I think that looks good. So let's go ahead and render it. And rendering basically is going to create a studio where you can see the object you're making and put into this virtual design studio. You can play with the lightings and exposures to different features. In this case, I have sharp highlights in the studio, but just go ahead and click whichever one you prefer. Cool light, grid light, rim highlights. But it comes down to preference. This one looks good, I think. So you click close, and then once you're satisfied with an angle and exposure and lighting, you play with those features, you go ahead and you save it, and you click user saved. If you want to create a different title for each time you save, for example, let's say I go back and I edit a feature, and I want to save it again. The default will be user saved, but if I want to save it in a different title, for example, added nail or added screw, then I can save it as that specific title. So going back to render, once you're satisfied with the render options, you have the ability to end render, and Autodesk Fusion 360 gives you the option of rendering with their servers as a cloud render or locally with your computer. In this case, I use a cloud render, and once I'm satisfied, I just click render. That will take me some time to actually process the image since it's being processed by their servers. But by the end of it, you're going to have an image down here that's going to basically take all these different functions and inputs for the lighting of this virtual design studio, and it's going to give me an output, which is the image. What you could do in the meantime is you go here to capture image, and it's going to basically capture this workspace you have created of the object. And that's pretty much it. That will be saved automatically to your computer. So other tips you can do eventually is you can play with the features here. I have the ground plane, flatten ground. And what that does is basically plays with the camera and different options in the rendering studio. For example, focal length, changes the focal length for the camera. If you want to go wider, do a bigger focal length. If you want to zoom into the object, do a smaller one, like that. Stick with the default. But if there's any situations where you want to change, then go ahead and change the settings. If you want to restore defaults, just go here, restore defaults. So that's pretty much it. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you guys on the next one.